Welcome to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, where today's top influencers and entrepreneurs on the rise share empowering stories and ninja tips to become the fuel that ignites a positive change in your life. Our guests don't simply coast through life. They don't let difficult situations stop them. They set big goals, keep their eyes on the prize, and they're joining us today to share insider secrets you can use right now to step into your power and live your purpose. Now, here's your host, Christy Ruffino.
Hello, and welcome to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast. I am Christy Ruffino, the host of the show, and I am the introducer of today's guest. Her name is Valerie Mrak. And Valerie Mrak has been a friend of mine for, about 3 or 4 years. I met her networking in an event and we connected. I learned a little bit about who she was. I learned a little bit about her story. And I had to invite her to be one of the featured authors in one of our Overcoming Mediocrity books. And to our fortune, she said yes. And not only did Valerie share an incredible story in our book, but she has gone on to build an amazing speaking business. She has spoken really all over the world. You'll find out a little bit about that in a moment. And then she's also connected me with so many other amazing women who have been a part of our book series and have been a part of our journey together. And she has just been an amazing connector. I love watching what she's doing in the world. She is a dynamo. She is a path setter. I mean, she's out there doing great things, and I'm inspired to follow her footsteps. I don't know if I want to speak on stage in another country to thousands and thousands of women, but heck, maybe I would. I don't know. Maybe when I get to that point, I'll be like loving that. But right now it seems pretty scary, but she said, yes, she did it. She's impacting the world, and she is going to be impacting you on our episode. So let me tell you about Valerie. She is a conflict transformation specialist, and she takes exhausted, frustrated relationships, and she helps her clients transform them into productive partnerships. Wow, that sounds great. She helps teams and individuals go from inaction and infighting to action and creative collaboration. She is a TEDx and an international speaker, an award-winning filmmaker, a leadership coach, and she has empowered thousands across the globe to transform their business and personal relationships through creating possibility. She is a best-selling author. She has been featured on radio and in publications such as Chicago Tribune, and she's had more than a dozen years experience coaching, speaking, and training. Valerie has worked with organizations like AT&T, the National Park Service, Boys and Girls Club of America, Rotary International, and PBS. She was named in 100 Women to Watch by today's Chicago Women magazine. A life-changing conversation with the Dalai Lama led her to a commitment to transform the conflict in her own life and master the principles of peace. She has interviewed 6 winners of the Nobel Peace Prize, as well as many former gang leaders. As a result, she has discovered the secrets of how to find the possibilities in impossible relationships. Valerie lives with her husband, Michael, at the southern tip of Lake Michigan in the state of Indiana. Please welcome Valerie Mrak. I can't wait for you to meet her. So hang tight. She'll be right with us. Well, welcome to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast. Christy here, and I am very excited and honored to have our next guest, Valerie Mrak. On a personal note, I had the pleasure of meeting Valerie, probably 6 or 7 years ago. It's been a while now. And we got to know each other. We kind of play in the same sandbox together. And then she was one of the featured authors in our Overcoming Mediocrity Victorious Women book. And since then, what's been great about Valerie is we stayed connected, and she has referred so many amazing women to our project. So I feel like she is kind of the the epicenter of how all of these women have gotten connected with not only me, but the other women in our community. So you are definitely a great connector, Valerie, and I appreciate you joining us today.
Oh, thank you, Christy. Well, you have been amazing. When I first met you and you said something about, are you an author? Don't you want to write a book? It's important to get your story out. And I'm like, not me. And then what a gift it is, what you have done in the world with overcoming mediocrity, because once I got that story out by writing it, boy, that really blew the lid off of what I'm up to in the world.
Oh gosh, I know you have been on TEDx stages and all kinds of great things. So I don't want to necessarily get into that myself. I want you to have an opportunity to share with our audience, who is Valerie Mrak and how did you become the expert you are right now?
Oh boy.
We don't have like 5 hours. So how can you take your whole life journey and condense it down into a 10-minute little story?
Right. Well, when I have been a documentary filmmaker and I owned my own business. And I felt like I was faking my way through my business. I felt like I was faking my way as a leader. And I had a lot of self-doubt, a lot of imposter syndrome. And I was one of the top video producers in corporate and documentary in Chicago.
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
great. Wow.
Yeah. And I still felt like I was faking it. And I was working on a documentary film. Well, essentially, I'm going to back up a little bit. One of the reasons that I worked in documentary is because as a child, I felt like I basically had no voice in my boisterous family of 5. And I was a middle child and I just kept feeling like I got lost and then I didn't have a voice. And one of the reasons I got into documentary film was because I wanted to be able to give voice to people that didn't think they had voice and to tell stories that I felt were really important. And one of those, my favorite documentary that I made, Shadow over Tibet, took me all the way to a tiny town in India to interview His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Wow.
And that was a momentous experience because here I was feeling like I am a complete, utter, faking it till I make it, and I'm not making it. I'm just faking it. Person that was standing in front of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, asking questions, right? And I really felt like he really saw right inside me. And I asked him an important question. I was asking him to explain to us what is peace. And he said, well, there's external peace, like peace toward animals, peace toward the environment, et cetera, like that. But external peace was not possible until you had a zone of peace in your heart. And always feeling like I was an imposter, like I was really faking it, like my voice wasn't worth being heard, I realized I wasn't at peace at all. And so that got me really excited to explore what that topic was.
Yeah.
And I went on to talk to other Nobel Peace Prize winners, talk to former gang leaders, talk to everyday people about what is peace. And along the way, I learned from the leaders that it isn't about something that you do, that peace, what isn't about something that you do. It's about who you are. And because they were leaders, I learned that is what leadership is. Leadership isn't about what you do. Leadership is about who you are as a leader. And that got me to thinking about sharing that message with especially women leaders all over the world.
Yes. Wow. What a great story. To embark on this journey to give people a voice.
Mhm.
And then are here face to face with His Holiness, right? The Dalai Lama. And what probably just a collage of emotions that you were feeling. Of course, the
Yes,
imposter piece, but then just the excitement of it and the opportunity, the opportunity to learn from him and grow from him. And
absolutely. Yes.
yeah, yeah. And then that one question, look at what that led to,
Hmm.
what is peace and how that just pretty much just changed the trajectory of your life.
It did. It absolutely did. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have been on a journey to interview many, many people,
Hmm.
and it's all been on a journey to really just kind of understand more about leadership. What was the purpose of that journey?
Well, originally I was going to make another documentary, and that didn't become, the documentary never got made. Instead, I have chosen to get on stage around the world wherever I can and share the message of what is peace and what is leadership, those two messages. And they're very intertwined with one another.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I have taught future women leaders in Nepal, and I have spoken in China to future women leaders about what is peace, what is peace leadership. And I've spoken from the conference for global transformation in Monterey, California, to so pretty much around the world as well as locally. And I coach women leaders as well.
Yeah, I remember that one time that I believe you went to, is it Singapore? Did you
Nepal.
Nepal? Yes. And you were sharing your experience of getting on that stage and how many people you were speaking to and the message that you were sharing. And I think that was right after we published your story, or maybe a year.
Yes, as a matter of fact, the day the book came out, I left for
Oh,
Nepal. And
okay.
then from Nepal, I went to China. And China was
Yes.
the big, big talk. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
So
Here's
there's a copy
Valerie.
of that book in Nepal
Oh my gosh.
with the World Academy for the Future of Women.
Oh, that's great. Well, I didn't know, but I just was so proud of you that you took this dream and you took it way beyond writing a book, and now you're sharing your message all over the world and big stages, so you can make a bigger difference to women who are, not only struggling with leadership, but overwhelm,
Yes.
right? I
Yes.
know you've kind of added another layer to what you do, and I know that's a big piece of it. So, do you mind hanging on for a little while, and then we'll come right back, and then we're going to dive into your principles on helping our audience combat and kind of get through their overwhelm situation.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
You're listening to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, where you learn to step into your power and live your purpose. Now back to the show with your host, Christy Ruffino.
All right. Well, welcome back to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast. This is Christy Ruffino, and we're here once again with Valerie Mrak. And thank you, Valerie, for joining us again.
Absolutely.
We
My
had that
pleasure.
short little commercial interruption. But I am really glad that we're now able to kind of get into the next phase of our interview today. And I know you actually have 3 key mindsets of effective leadership. You're going to really share some great tips to help our audience stop the overwhelm, get results, and learn to breathe. Why is breathing so important?
Oh, breathing is important because it centers us,
Mm,
and breathing also creates space around us.
yeah,
And it
absolutely.
helps us take that pause that we often, especially as women, don't take because we're
Yeah.
always doing, 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 right?
Yeah, we're always doing. Busy, 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 busy little girls, huh? All right. So go ahead. And I know you've got some great information to share with us. Go ahead and let us know about your 3 key mindset.
Okay. The first mindset that I want to introduce is getting off the doing merry-go-round. We are so busy proving ourselves or getting the next thing done and then getting the next thing done and getting the next thing done and picking up the ball when we perceive someone else has dropped it. It's like we're on a merry-go-round. Remember those merry-go-rounds that we use? Christy, you'll understand, they're illegal now.
Oh, I
So
didn't know that.
there's this thing called a merry-go-round, which is a platform with handles, and you push it and then jump on it and you go round and round and round and round. Well, when you do that in life, when you do that in your leadership, you completely lose perspective. You're getting
Yeah.
dizzy, you don't know what. And jumping off the merry-go-round feels really scary. Right? You got to wait till it slows down, but it doesn't slow down because you got to keep it going. And
Yes. If you
so
don't keep it going, all of a sudden it stops and then there's no more fun.
exactly,
As a
exactly,
kid anyways, it's not fun to be on a merry-go-round when you're an adult and you're trying to do things, because then that's just crazy town.
exactly, exactly. So when you just stop, take that breath, get off that merry-go-round, you begin to see things in perspective and you can begin to sort things out. And when you get off the merry-go-round, you can also see clearly and help other people get off the merry-go-round around you so that you can move forward in with your team, or maybe even with your customers, with your partners. That even works with your family.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the merry-go-round, even though it's fun, but as an adult, as we're kind of going through the day-to-day life and navigating, if we're spinning around, we're going to get dizzy. Everything's blurry. It's just not a great way to kind of proceed.
No, it isn't, because you lose your vision,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And you completely get overwhelmed with what there is.
Yes. Okay. Well, what is the key number 2?
Key number 2 is doing duplicates. So I alluded to that, right? When you're on that merry-go-round, everybody else is around on that merry-go-round with you. And so how you do things, how you approach things is how the people around you will approach things. You're the leader. That's what happens. The good news is that being also duplicates. So when you move in your leadership from, well, I'm going to dare say it, not a common leadership word, but when you come from your heart, when you come from love, when you come from respect, when you come from listening, being willing to listen, being willing to just stop, then everyone else does that too. And that is how you get results. You can think about what it is that you're doing. You can think about what your goals are rather than just running for that finish line. Because there's so many other things to take into consideration. And when you don't have your eye on that one line, because it's not always about the goal, right? It's about how you get to the goal. When you're just concerned about the goal, oftentimes relationships can be damaged. You don't do it well. You don't take the time to reassess. You don't take the time, like a sailboat, right? You don't take the time to correct when you have your eye on that one finish line.
Yeah, it's like really focusing on the destination and then ignoring the complete journey. And
Right.
the next thing you know, you're there and you're like, well, what happened? How did I get there? And then you neglect everything along the way, or something bad happens, right?
Right, or people fall away, good people
Yeah.
fall away.
Yeah.
And when you let that kind of thing happen, just think about it in your business. It takes so much more money to train a person than it does to keep a person.
Yeah. It does.
So when you respect the people and you give them that opportunity to correct, then you're actually saving money in the business as well. So there's a bottom line to it
Yeah.
too.
Absolutely. I know for me, this was a lesson that was really something I needed to learn, because I was always, goal driven and let's get that accomplished. And I think what really slowed me down and helped me kind of see things a little bit differently is my motorcycle hobby, because when we go out, we don't even care where we go. So it's not about the destination at all. It's about the journey.
Mm.
And I use that a lot in the analogy in my day-to-day life. And it really helps me kind of slow down and not necessarily worry about what's next, but be present in the now.
Mhm.
And that way we can kind of see what other people are going through. We can kind of see, I mean, gosh, sometimes we don't even look at people's faces when we speak to them. And we're thinking about what's next, and our brain is going in different directions. But if we could just stop and be present and have that eye contact, we're able to absorb not only what they're saying better, but kind of read between the lines of who they are and what they're trying to say.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfectly. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is what I call doing happens. We are thrown to doing. However, I would say we are not human doings. We are human beings. And being is a practice. It takes a little time. It takes a little thought. It takes some breath. Take that deep breath. Breathe through your nose. Breathe out through your mouth. And then act from your heart. Act from your center. Not about the doing. And when you learn to breathe in the midst of all the chaos, yes,
And just stopping and breathing.
suddenly things are calmer. Suddenly you get some oxygen into your brain and you can think better. And you can move as a leader from your heart, whatever that is, whether that's in relationship to another human being, or whether that's taking a few more minutes to determine your goals or your strategies or whatever. And then having someone to talk to is really, really important. Leaders isolate themselves. And since being is a practice, whether you have a best friend or another leader that you talk to, or you hire a coach, to be able to talk about coming from being and not coming from the doing.
So like a mentor,
Yeah.
somebody that's on the same journey as you. I mean, where do you want to bring somebody into your life? Are they kind of struggling with the same thing? Is it an accountability partner? Explain a little bit more about what that looks like.
Well, an accountability partner is great as long as they know the difference between being the person that does, and coming from your being, coming from your heart. And I think as women, we all know that place.
Mhm.
We just often don't take the time to be in that place.
Yeah.
So hiring a mentor, hiring a coach, having an accountability partner is really key in being able to master the art of coming from being.
That's important. So yeah, I would think that would be more of a kind of a coach or a mentor that would help you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have to master it, you're going to have to learn skills, right? You can't just will yourself to be. I would believe that there are certain skills that we need to adopt in our life to be grounded more and to be present in the moment and just to be and quit doing.
Yes. And I would call also those skills mindsets, because they aren't about picking up a tool like your computer mouse or anything like that. It's really about centering yourself and coming from that place of peace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Peace. Great. Okay. So those were your 3 key mindsets. I love them. Being able to get off the merry-go-round and stop the doing and become more of a beer.
Right.
I don't know if I'm saying that right, but
I like that.
what's
A
the wording
beer.
correctly? Be a
It's like,
beer.
right. Don't be, there was what was her name? Frances Miss Francis or whatever in, this is dating me, in a television show. She said, don't be a don't be, do a do be.
Oh,
I say, don't be a do be a be-er.
I like that. So was that Romper Room with
Upper room, yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes, with Miss
It was
Francis,
kind
yeah,
of like that popped into my mind. I'm like about being a busy bee.
right.
Oh my gosh. Brings back memories. Holy cow. Okay, so what do you do then to help your clients, Valerie? I know you are an amazing business coach, and I believe you focus on helping women in the leadership role, correct?
Yes, that's what I do. So I'm available for coaching. I'm also available for speaking, leading workshops, doing seminars, speaking to audiences, and so I'll meet with people, on Zoom, of course,
Yeah.
these days. Yeah.
Okay. So if there are, I know there's going to be a lot of people listening to this episode, and I'm sure there's one person out there. I'm sure there's more, but let's identify that one person that you feel you could really, really make the biggest and best transformation for her. Who would that person be, and what is she struggling with right now?
Well, I would say that person is an entrepreneur
Okay.
or perhaps a small business owner. And everybody around her sees her as successful and admires her. And she doesn't get it. She feels like she is faking it.
An imposter.
An imposter. Right. Right. And so I can help that woman really understand her own power and be comfortable with that power and really, grab that and move it with who she really is at the core into the world.
Yes, because if we're coming from uh, the place of this is who we are, this is what we were designed for, and we're able to own it and step into it, it kind of is like a whole different game, right? We won't feel like we're faking it anymore. We feel like, all right, this is it. I've arrived. And then what's great about that is now people start coming to you and your message gets louder and clearer because you are so on point with what you're supposed to be doing, and you're able to get the best results for your clients.
Yes, and that is the space also where you really learn to breathe. And I think really experience joy
Joy.
in your life and in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to back up a little bit. You mentioned something about that you help small business owners and entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this because I've had to experience it, but I think many times people feel that entrepreneurs do not need to be good leaders. But that is so wrong. Even though they may not have employees,
Right.
they still have to really focus on building strong leadership skills. Can you speak to
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Well, entrepreneurs may have subcontractors that they work with. They certainly have customers. Being a leader of your customers, you're a leader in your product, you're a leader in that service that you're giving is really important because customers would rather work with people that they see as strong leaders in their field, strong accomplishers in their field than otherwise, right? And so that's really important. I firmly believe entrepreneurs are leaders. And there's another area in which people lead that we haven't mentioned, and that's in community service. Whether you're an entrepreneur or a small business leader or a manager in a company, there's also, whether it's in your church or whether it's in your Rotary Club or whether it's in as a Girl Scout leader or anything like that, you are also a leader. And these skills can totally move into the area of service and what your passion is and your joy as well. And they really work with one another.
Oh gosh, absolutely. Even with your family, right? We've got to be a good leader to our
Absolutely.
family. And even if we kind of look all past that and we've got a business that we are, especially nowadays, we're all moving to online businesses or using online as a platform, right? For us to get clients and serve our clients. I mean, there's so many things that we're able to do now online that we weren't able to do, heck, even 5 years ago. But what's really cool about that is it can set us up for failure if we're not tapping into our leadership roles, because even if we're not working with those people, people that see us are watching what we're doing, and we have to set a good example. I know I learn from people sometimes just by observing them. And when I see somebody that I think is doing really a great job, they're not working with me directly, but I'm kind of following them and learning from them. And I'm seeing them as a leader in their industry. And so, being that leader in your industry, even if you're not looking at the piece where you're directly working with people, there's just so many things that we need to recognize that that level of peace and joy is seen by them.
Right. And I would say that even if you don't have employees, you still have relationships.
Yes.
And all of these issues, jumping off the doing merry-go-round, the doing duplicates, so does being, and being a beer rather than doing happens, and being able to breathe in relationship. You're still absolutely in communication, and all of those things are important when you're in communication with people.
Yeah. Yeah, I know when I'm around people, and they're like frantic and scrambled, and especially when people come in, like if we're in a meeting and somebody comes in late and they're just like, like all over the place, they almost become like we repel them, right? Because we don't want them to bring their energy into us. And
Right.
so if we can really embrace this whole methodology that you help your clients with, it is another way that people are kind of drawn to us because they see us and they're like, oh my gosh, she is just like, she's just the presence around her and the aura and her just, well, her, I keep saying her, it could be her or him. But
Correct.
just the energy that they put off makes them more kind of attractive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this was really great, Valerie. I know, please share with our audience how they can get a hold of you. I know you don't have to spell it out. We'll have everything in the show notes below, but I know you've got a website and
Yep.
different social media places that people connect with you. So why don't you
Yes.
kind of let everybody know how they can reach out to you?
Yes. Well, on my website, miraculous.com, which I'm not going to spell because you've asked me not to, it will be in the notes below. It's spelled like my last name, which is a little bit different. And then you on LinkedIn and on Facebook, you can find me any of those places. And I do have a gift for people. It's called the Leaders Overwhelm Self-Assessment Tool,
Oh, wow. Okay.
where you'll be asked 21 different questions and we'll identify 7 areas for you of where leaders get overwhelmed. And then we will send you, after you fill that out, we'll send you the mindset traps that you may be in danger of falling into, and then a couple of suggestions for each of those mindset traps you may be either in or circling
Yes.
that will help you stay away from it. And
Wow.
yeah,
That's great. So you're doing an assessment, a free assessment, plus you're actually giving strategies for people that are struggling with something specific, or maybe, like you say, are circling around that struggle.
right,
So,
right.
oh my gosh. All right. So we're going to have the link to that in the show notes below as well. And feel free to reach out to Valerie. I know she is a wealth of information on this topic. And we didn't even get into your stories about your gang leaders and all of that stuff, but I know you've got so many great stories that you share. So I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today and to share your wisdom with our audience, what we call ninja tips.
Yes. Love your ninja tips. Thank you so much, Christy. It's been a privilege and a delight to talk to you.
All right. You too, Valerie. Have a great rest of the day.
All right.
And
Thanks.
thanks everybody for listening. If you loved this episode, make sure that you like us. Or no, it's not like us. Actually, I'm getting used to all this podcast terminology. It is rate us and review us and subscribe to our channel. See you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, where we believe that everyone can have the business and life of their dreams once they've learned the art of mastering their story. Mastering our stories is the key to everything we want in life. Our stories can either hold us back or they can propel us to new heights. We can choose. You can choose. Choose to overcome mediocrity with us. Let's achieve greatness together. To learn more, visit www.overcomingmediocrity.org. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast.